Good afternoon. Welcome to East Carolina University. My name is Chris Stansberry in the Division of Student Affairs. This is Aaron Lucier, the Director of Housing here at East Carolina. We are properly socially distanced, so Aaron and I are going to take our masks off. Makes it a little bit easier for you all to hear us and have this conversation. First of all, today's program is about talking about move-in, but we would be remiss if we don't talk about the storm that's coming, just so that folks are aware of what's going on. That we are aware that we know what's going on and those types of things, as folks that are also beginning to make their plans to travel for move-in. Some that are coming from long distance may not understand or fully get the geography of North Carolina. There's been many things in 2020, Aaron, that we haven't been prepared for. We kind of gotten used to the process for hurricanes and tropical storms. Never that you're 100% ready, but we definitely want to give you at least an update of where we are this morning, as we had a weather meeting campus-wide today. Just to give you the update, right now is a tropical storm. It is possible that it could go to a hurricane by the time that it makes landfall in North Carolina. It would be a low-grade Category 1 type hurricane. These are the impacts that we're expecting for eastern North Carolina, Pitt County, which, if you're not familiar, Pitt County is where Greenville and ECU are located. We're looking at 3 to 5 inches of rain that will fall, and we're going to have winds probably in the 45 to 55 mile an hour sustained winds with some gusts that'll get up to about 70 miles an hour. Now that sounds like an awful lot. I want to put this into kind of a time frame for you as well. We're looking at things coming in our area between about midnight tonight through probably 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So by Tuesday afternoon, if you've ever been in eastern North Carolina after a hurricane goes through, it's probably going to be one of the most beautiful afternoons that you see. But we're going to get a lot of rain. It's going to be a rain and wind event. In eastern North Carolina, the last month has been very dry. We have not had a whole lot of rain. So outside of some flash flooding, when those 3 to 5 inches of rain fall, it'll be some flooding in the streets. It will probably quickly dissipate and go away. Rivers are already at a pretty low stage. We're not expecting Tar River or any of the areas around us to have those type of flood levels that would go up, that might kind of correspond with a hurricane or tropical storm that would go through. So we're continuing to monitor. If you're making plans and you have your move-in for the 5th and 6th coming up on Wednesday and Thursday, we don't expect much of an impact at all. We're going forward as planned, and that's where we're going to kind of transition into our program today. If you're watching the live edition of this and you have questions, feel free. We've got folks in the Division of Student Affairs that are monitoring. That'll be answering some of your questions. If a link is shared or additional things are shared, we'll put those in the comment boxes. If you're watching the archived edition of this, all of that information will be in the comment section. If you have additional questions, Carter Fenwick with Parent Family Programs will be monitoring later on, and we'll be sharing that out. So stay connected and get attached with this. Aaron, as we kind of transition in, a hurricane tropical system into move-in, unfortunately, is not abnormal for us, and we're ready for this kind of thing. And fortunately, it's going to hit kind of right in between we go from drop-off to move-in. So let's start right there. If you can kind of talk about how the drop-off process went and where we are as we kind of sit here on August 3rd.
Well, thank you for everybody who was part of that process. Everybody packed a little patience because it was a new process for us. We certainly realized that some of our buildings probably did not get as much TLC as they should have, but we worked through that, and we are still, to this day, doing some follow-up maintenance in some of our areas. So if you were in a room and you put in a maintenance request, we're addressing many of those before students arrive. But other than that, it went very well. We appreciate everybody was really following the mask protocols for the campus. I really appreciate the fact that, like I said, everybody seemed to pack a little patience. We had a lot of volunteer help from admissions and our partners in campus dining and all to staff the buildings and answer questions. So it really was an all hands on deck, really strong event, and very low key though, on the other hand of it, because of how spread out it was. So people responded and really followed instructions and could not have been happier in a lot of ways.
And I can share firsthand account. So I have an 18-year-old that moved into Umstead during this drop-off process. And we did it the first Friday of the opportunity to do that. And it was a flawless experience. I mean, there was people helping out. There were carts, there were hand trucks. Morgan in Umstead was a great help, constantly asking folks if there was anything that they could do on the housing side. It was definitely a different process for me because I've done, this is my 14th kind of move-in season. and it was definitely different, but it went very smooth. And I think, Aaron, you were saying we're almost 3/4 at our capacity, and the rest coming in maybe a little bit this week. So as we look ahead to the move-in phase of this, drop-off is behind us, move-in is coming up. Talk a little bit about that process and what do folks need to know that are coming in?
Well, folks are going to check in. We're doing a decentralized check-in, and so if you've checked in with us in the past, you may have checked in with us. So if you checked in another student, or you've checked in yourself as a student, you might have checked in at Minji's Coliseum in the past. And we're not doing that this year because of the concerns of bringing that many people into one space. And so we're doing 2 check-in areas. For College Hill, that check-in space will be here in Gateway Hall, literally right behind me here, and the space between the 2 buildings, and there's some signage about check-in. And then if you're on Central, which is Umstead, Cotton, Fleming, and Jarvis Halls, that check-in would be in West End Dining. So the Central and West will be checking in at West End Dining. So those are the Cotton, Fleming, Jarvis, Umstead, Garrett, Fletcher, Clement, White, and Green are all the West End and Central Halls. They're all checking in at the West End Dining. And bring your ID. Only the students needed to check in, so the parents will be asked to wait outside, and hopefully it won't be raining. But bring your if you don't have your student ID yet, certainly bring a driver's license, a high school ID, just some sort of ID that we can make sure it's you. And we'll get your keys to you, and we will also give you a little bit different than we did with drop-off. We'll be giving you basically a drop-off parking permit, basically saying you got some time to do that. It's really an unloading permit. Because when you go back to your hall, you're going to really work to unload into your room. So this is not the time to start unpacking. This is the time to unload in your room. And then move your cars. And that is going to be for the people on College Hill. That's going to be moving over to the stadium area. The abundant parking around the stadium, and if you're on West End or on Central, that would be moving to the ECU lots that we own in between 4th and the river on Reed Circle and Reed Street. And then if anybody knows the landmarks, that would be the parking lots basically north of Sup Dogs, which is the hot dog and the world famous hot dog place at 5th and Reed Circle.
And the big East Carolina University sign is right there, so for those folks that have been to it, seen that too.
But there's an abundance of parking, but there is not so much of that parking near the residence hall, so we need to make sure that people are unloading, putting their stuff in the room, moving cars, then coming back and unpacking. That's so we can make sure that somebody else later on will have a spot to be able to do their unloading, and that's really important. If for other students that did an early check-in for the RAs and all that, we're encouraging them to move to those lots as well. So everybody's going to be trying to maintain those parking spots close to the residence halls for the arriving students.
Talk a little bit about the difference. Drop-off, some people may have seen photos with their student, with the sibling, with parents, with maybe a grandparent that came in during the drop-off phase. That was an option. Now as we go to move-in, it's a little different.
Yeah, we are starting to pare down our population a little bit. So we're asking that really students only bring 2 family members, preferably from the same household. So starting to pare that down a little bit because it will be a little busier. Some of the residents, the roommate might be there when you arrive. All that different space, there's going to be starting to be students living in the space. And so we're trying to bring the population down. So here on the 5th and 6th, you're allowed still to bring some help, wearing masks, doing your COVID checklist before you arrive, which will be emailed to you about 24 hours before you arrive. So everybody should think about what the temperature are they feeling okay, all those things. And then come to campus with only those 2 folks. And they can help you move in after the 5th and 6th. And if you are going to have to move in after the 5th and 6th, and we'll talk a little bit about the return to campus, but if you are moving in after that point, you can still move in with us, but you're going to move in solo. That means you're moving yourself in, or you're maybe having your roommate help you, or a friend that lives in the residence hall help you, but not your family, because really after the 6th, we're asking that the residence halls be a space for students. We're going to be limiting our staff. We are trying to limit that space for those students for their health, and therefore outside guests won't be allowed. And so that's a transition we'll do that. I'll talk a little bit about the return to campus too. So if you did the drop-off, we're asking you not, if at all possible, not to return on the 5th and 6th and wait till the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Basically those last 3 days before classes begin on the 10th. And you'd come back, most likely, if you are coming back, that if you're bringing your own car, you're driving yourself, so the student's coming, they're not bringing anybody, that's fine. If you're dropping your student off, you're asked, literally, you do the almost cartoon-like drop-off for them, is you let them out the car door with their bags and wish them well, right there, because we are asking at that point for you not to go back into the building as a parent, because we want to start building that safety, that community that says, this is the people living in that building, and those are the people we expect to be there, and those are the people we can respond to if there's a concern.
Well, add in just a few moments ago, and as we're sitting here, an ECU alert is going out. If you're watching the live edition, that is in reference to the storm. A lot of that same information that we just shared with you at the top of this program is what you will see. But for parents, especially new parents, or maybe if this is the first student that you have going through college, the ECU alert is one of the mechanisms that we have as a university to communicate different things that are going on. And so you as parents might not always get them, your student might get it, but if you go to the ECU alert webpage, parents can also sign up to receive those alerts too. So want to make sure that I put that out there, as that alert just went out, not to alarm anybody, but a lot of times if we're monitoring a storm coming, we'll put something out. As it gets closer, we'll provide those updates too. That just hit my phone as we were sitting here, so I wanted to share that as we go forward. Aaron, you talked a little bit about the symptoms check and the message they'll get 24 hours. Two parts of that. One, the importance of making sure that the student is checking their ECU account and making sure that they're connected and sharing that information with mom and dad. That's the first part, because that's where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Everything we're sending them really from the university is going to that account.
Correct, and that update's going to go to whatever email address the student signed up for their move-in window with. So they use their Gmail. That reminder is going to go to that Gmail account. It's going to go to their ECU account otherwise. The one thing with that is we are asking folks to do that, do that check and sort of say, am I healthy? Am I feeling any concerns? See if you can stay home and send somebody else on your behalf. If you are at high risk at this point and you're really concerned about that, see if there's somebody else who can go with you and go on your behalf. Along with that, it's really important, some of those emails from our sign-up site come out with a reminder address of the ECU's main address for the check-in. That's where the event is happening. It's an address on 5th Street. We are not doing all of our check on an address on 5th Street. That's just the standard address for the sign-up. Please report to the address that we gave you, the neighborhood service office. That's where you're going to be checking in on your building. So disregard any reminder location other than the fact that the email has the proper information about either Gateway or the West End Dining for check-in.
And there will be some of the services that weren't open during drop-off will start to be opening and available. A couple of those will be Daddy Student Stores, the ECU One Card office, and we will start having some dining locations that will be opening up later on this week, so that when that high majority of the students are coming back, those services are open and available. The cashier's office is offering some face-to-face customer service on Wednesdays and Fridays. However, one of the best ways to reach out to them is by calling them, and we've got folks that'll put this in the comment box too. cashier@ecu.edu, reach out to them, or 252-737-6886. And a lot of times you can put your question or comment there, and they may be able to answer it really quickly, or they may call you back, contact you, and schedule some type of a follow-up with them. Same with financial aid, except they are not doing face-to-face. All of their interactions are being done either through the phone, through their email, or they actually have some financial aid appointments that you can make where you have a financial aid counselor will reach back out to you. Again, speaking personally, we did that with my son twice during the course of this summer. Very helpful. It's also a great opportunity for them to connect and engage with you. There will not be parking. ECU parking will not be open. The office itself will not be open. You'll be able to purchase those from Fireport, and those will be mailed back to you. So Aaron, as we look I see some folks as we're here in Gateway, they're setting up some of their beds and setting up some of the lofts. There's kind of two ways. So if they ordered a loft early on, it was in their room and should have been in there when they were drop off. If they did it after a certain date, those lofts should be coming in today, I think.
Yeah, literally right down the hall. The fun of working in a residence hall. Yeah, those are being in place. Those are not being installed. So basically, those lofts will be in your room, and you'll have to do that because we knew some of the room folks would have stuff in their room. It is all, you don't need tools for it. It's all hand screws and pretty easily done. If folks need help, and we always hear from folks, my son or daughter got a loft, and they're not going to be able to do it themselves. This is a residence hall community. If they walk down the hall and say, I need help with a bed, or they will find folks to be able to help them. So if you're somebody who's coming back on the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and you're like, but my daughter didn't get her bed set up, and I'm really worried about that. I assure you, if they reach out to their floor mates, if they reach out and just literally walk down the hall and say, hey, I need a few folks to help me set up my loft, they will find folks to be able to help them set up their loft. Or at least check in with the RA and see if the RA can gather a small crew. They can throw on their face masks and go in the room and give them a hand. This is a very helping community, so don't feel like there's going to be standalone. Chris mentioned one of the good things is food service will start on the 5th and 6th. So, your student's not going to be dropped off and wondering where food is for the first 2 days either. So all these things are going to be part of the availability. It's going to be a very much different food service. We've sent out some information called Dining 101. We've sent those out to the student email account. And it is a little different. And it's going to require a little bit more planning and forethought. Going to get lunch and dinner, right? And particularly at the beginning of the semester when people tend to really do this, everybody thinks lunch is at noon. Like
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock. You might have a much better lunch experience if you start thinking lunch is at 12:45 or just any other time. If you're trying to organize with your friends and say, we're going to go get lunch, think about just picking up a time other than the clock strikes 12. Because it will really help you out, and that's really important. So it's going to be a very different experience this year about that as well.
And I do think that's a conversation, parents, that you can have with your student is one of those things. Take a look at their schedule. What else is new is that we're not a semester, we're in 2 7.5-week blocks. And so their schedule is going to kind of adjust. And for many, it's going to be the first time that they've been on their own, fully on their own, when they couldn't just walk into the kitchen and find something to eat. They're going to have to kind of schedule out what they're going to do for the day. Maybe pull up their schedule and, to Aaron's point, kind of say, this is probably a time you want to think about swinging through in this case. For my son, he lives in Central, but a couple of his classes are in Brewster, which may mean he's closer to Todd Dining Hall than he would be West End. So, not doing it for them, but maybe helping them make a plan and navigate their early part of their semester. Because trust me, after they get about a week and a half into this, they're going to figure it out. They're going to know what's best for them, but maybe having that conversation to get going, never a bad thing. Carts and volunteers. Do you want to touch on that, Aaron, as far as what's available, what will be?
A little bit of different experience if you've moved in with us before. We usually have a ton of volunteers, and we love volunteers. And we kind of missed them this year because we really didn't want to add all those extra bodies on the campus. And so we don't have volunteers, but we have more carts than ever out than we have in the past. Now, those are only going to be available on the 5th and 6th. We're not going to have all those carts out on the 7th, 8th, and 9th because really we're hoping that it is going to be an environment where folks are really just bringing back what they have. So if you are one of those few folks that had to move in on those days, I would plan to bring your own cart if you can on those dates and know that you're moving in on your own without your family in that setup. But on the 5th and 6th, 2 family members, bring your own cart if you wish. We'll have some too. It never hurts to bring your own because then it's your cart and you don't have to share it with anybody. But we will have carts available, both hand carts and rolling carts where appropriate. And they're a big help. But not as many volunteers in the past, but certainly the hall staff will be around to answer questions. The neighborhood service offices, or what we commonly refer to the NSO. So if we send you something that says NSO, you're like, what is an NSO? That's the neighborhood service office. Those will there to handle event key or a maintenance concern and make sure it gets addressed. So those are all resources that we're going to be up, ready, and going on the 5th and 6th.
So a reminder, when you're coming in on the 5th and 6th, those 2 check-in areas right outside of Gateway will be up here for College Hill, and then West End will be handling Central and for the West End community. A couple of things I want to mention too before we get ready to wrap up here. I want to share part of the thing that we have put out there is that we all have a responsibility to keep our campus safe. You're going to see all of us, even in these settings, we're coming in wearing our masks. We have our masks everywhere. We're trying as faculty and staff to lead by example. And that is another conversation we're going to ask parents and family members to have with their student, is to say, one of the ways that we're going to be successful and stay on campus in an on-campus physical environment is for people to take care of their own responsibilities. That's things as simple as washing their hands, making sure that they're wearing their masks and doing all the things that are smart. Making sure that they're taking all the precautions that many of us have been taking as we go out and about anyway. It really just needs to be amplified when they come back to campus. It's for the safety and the health of the students, but also for the faculty and staff. We all have families as well, and we want to make sure that we stay safe. And on top of it all, Aaron's been doing this for almost 30 years. I've been doing this for 15 years. One of the greatest experiences is watching new first-year students come onto our campus and have a tremendous college experience. They meet new people. They get to interact, create lifelong friendships. We don't want that to be cut short. We don't want that to have any kind of negative impact. It'll be different anyway, but we want to give them the best experience possible, and that includes your student too. So before I wrap up, Aaron, anything you want to kind of share as parting thoughts for the move-in coming up?
Yeah, I mean, to what you just said, Chris, it's a really great message that if students want to be here, they need to show that. And that's going to show in their behavior. They need to have those conversations with a roommate. And that roommate is going to be that one person maybe that they create that household with. You talk about that household we can feel comfortable with. That roommate might not be a really close friend, but they need to be a good roommate. And being part of being a good roommate is taking care of your other roommate by making healthy decisions. So you need to be making healthy decisions together, because we know, and I've had this conversation with many parents, is, you know, we've recommended that there's ways that you can set up the room that you're not breathing each other's air as much, but it's still a room. And it's one room, or one suite, or one area, or one group of friends that your student has. It might be their, hey, these are my masks down, I'm having lunch with friends. If that's true, you need to make sure that those friends are making the same kind of health decisions you are. Those really good health decisions about, I'm not going to a secret house party, I'm not going off campus, I'm wearing my mask where appropriate, I'm social distancing as I can, and I only maybe have lunch or eat with this small group of folks, that these are my inner friends here that I really take care of, that are part of that group. Because if you don't have that faith, or you don't have that discussion, and you make assumptions about that, oh, they're all taking care of each other in the same way, it might be a surprise when you discover that they are not taking care of each other in the same way that you are. And so have those frank discussions, and that's a difficult thing for a college student sometimes, a brand new college student to have. But parents, encourage your students to have those tough discussions. And if they're not, then change your friend group. If they're not, talk to the hall staff about it. If you have to, changing rooms. And we will allow room changes through working through the hall staff. Whatever you need to do, you need to keep yourself healthy this year and making those decisions. And keeping yourself healthy helps keep our freshman class and all of our classes at ECU, and helps keep us in session. And that's really unbelievably important. We can put up all the signs in the world, we can put up all the hand sanitizer in the world, we can put up all the extra cleaning that we're doing and all those other things, but if students don't make the right decisions, it won't be sustainable. And that's just the real reality of this year. The other things is, once again, pack your patience. If things aren't going well, if it doesn't turn out to be the way you are, you get stuck in traffic or something happens, just know that, you know, it will work out, and we will do our best to fix what's going on. If something's not working right in your room, we'll get it fixed as soon as we can. If it's something's not right, that there's a line where you don't expect the line, we'll get it fixed as soon as we can. We're working through this. It is still a very new process for all of us. Even though this is my 26th opening at ECU, this is different than all the others. And actually, all the other ones have been different than all the other ones too. But there we go. But they all been different. This one's probably one of the most different. And we just need to be ready to be flexible.
Yep, and there's a lot of folks, as Aaron said, ready to jump in and help out. So reach out to the community. A lot of us, we all wear our purple on Friday. Aaron and I have it on today. It's a Monday, but we'll all have our purple out on Friday. The great thing, tell a student, if they see somebody who's a staff person wearing purple on Friday, you got a question, go ask them. That's what we're here for. I'm an alum, and that's one of the things that I love about this community, is that people will jump in to help, especially first-year students, transfer students, as they come back into campus. A couple of things I want to share as far as just ways to find out more information. If If you go to the ECU.edu, and that's the homepage for ECU, you're going to see Return to Pirate Nation prominent right in the banner. You can click that link on that page. It's going to take you to a full website that's got information for parents, for students. It's got FAQs. It's got links to the self-reporting form. If you've got symptoms and questions, there's all kinds of information there. I would strongly suggest, as a family, either before you return to Pirate Nation or you get ready to do move in, look through that website. Make sure that everybody understands what's going on and what the plan is for that. If you've got questions about moving, Campus Living's website is still active and ready to go. Parent Family Programs is another one that if you just, a lot of times people aren't really sure where to go, they call Carter. They're like, okay, Carter, I'm not sure, I got a question about this, and she may not have the answer, but she's gonna know where the office is to get you connected. So that's definitely a couple of them. Again, I'll recap as far as the tropical storm that's coming this way. It's mostly going to be a rain-wind event overnight from midnight to 8 a.m. starting tonight into tomorrow. And we expect it to be long gone and out of here before the 5th and 6th as far as moving and impact. Some flash flooding that could occur just while that storm is coming through. It may go to a hurricane, small grade as we go, but right now the track is still kind of going right up the I-95 corridor. So we'll be on kind of the east side of that storm, and hopefully it'll be in and out. We appreciate you tuning in today. As we have more programs and updates, we may join you back on Facebook Lives in the future. Until then, stay safe, and we are really excited about seeing our Pirates back here later on this week. Take care.